Good morning, students. Today is an exciting day. We're beginning a new program that will guide and encourage us to grow as readers. The program is called G.R.I.P for Griffin's Reading is a Priority. Get a grip. We want to ensure that you have access to engaging stories and great books, so we've put aside daily time, Monday through Thursday, for reading and nothing but reading. We're going to begin the program by reading a book together. You'll have your own copy of the book that's kept in your advisory class. We'll play videos of the day's reading passage that you can listen to and follow along with your own book. Therefore, these books should remain in your classroom and should not be taken home. But in addition to devouring this story at school, you can read at home since we're offering your families a free copy of the book as well. We have one copy available for each family who requests one, and many of these are in Spanish. You can access the reading video at home as well. The book we'll be reading is Pablo Cartaya's The Epic Fail of Arturo Zamora. It's about family, loyalty, attraction, and fighting for what's right. It's funny, poignant, uplifting, and real. We know you're going to love it. So let's get started. Page 1. Note to self. I'm officially resigning from love. Time in a cell will do that to a kid. For the record, I didn't do it. Well, I didn't mean for what I did to blow up in my face. This should have been the best night of my life. I was going to save the restaurant, save the town, get the girl, make Abuela proud. I imagined myself riding a tan horse into the summer sunset, swatting any mosquito that tried to sting my awesomeness. Instead, I'm locked in a small room that smells like chorizo and stale popcorn, while my arch enemy continues to brainwash the community with reggaeton and free sunscreen. I'm sitting on a cracked vinyl sofa, staring out at my abuela's restaurant from a tiny window while I await my sentence. The only thing I've learned from this crazy course of events is that no matter how much we try to believe that David beat Goliath, the reality is the big guy always wins. Even if the big guy is actually a 5'3", flamboyantly dressed land developer with stupendously gelled hair. My little slingshot didn't even bruise his forehead. I also learned that love is a giant pretzel, twisty, salty. It leaves you dry and thirsty. These pages contain every detail. Well, most details. I'll leave stuff out like I brushed my teeth but didn't floss, or I had a sandwich, or it was crazy humid that day in the park, which is why I wore a tank top, etc. But the big details of my epic fail are all here. Everything. Todo. So let me start the puro desastre, the total meltdown from the beginning. 3 Sundays ago at our weekly family dinner at Abuela's restaurant, La Cocina de la Isla. Chapter 1, When Guts Fry. For my entire life, La Cocina de Isla has closed on Sundays. Year after year, customers have begged Abuela to open the restaurant, but she never has. She claimed Sundays for the Zamoras, and that was that. No more discussion. Ever since she handed over cooking duties to my mom, her oldest daughter, Abuela took her place on one of the sofas in the lounge area, smiling and surveying the whole scene. The chaos of so many people moving about and talking over each other didn't seem to bother her at all. She looked happiest when the entire Zamora clan crammed itself into La Cocina. My cousins, Yolanda and Mari, traded high school chismes on the outdoor patio. Martine and Brian sat at the bar area next to the kitchen to watch TV, flipping from MMA to basketball to hockey to baseball without settling on anything for more than 3 minutes. Benny and Brad, my younger cousins, zipped around tables pretending to be superheroes until they were scolded by my uncle for knocking over a chair. A few of my third cousins, 2 of my dad's best friends from high school, and cousins who I called cousins but weren't really my cousins, sat around in different spots waiting for food to be served. My dad brought out the urns containing my abuelo, tío abuelo, and my tatarabuelo. Yes, my great-grandfather, and carefully lined them up on the small service bar next to the dinner table where we would eventually sit for our meal. Yep, even the dead joined us in spirit. The whole family was there, and everyone was in a really good mood. I was excited for a bunch of reasons. It was the Sunday before the official start of summer, and summer meant hanging out, swinging on banyan trees, looking for manatees in the canals throughout Canal Grove, eating churros, because let's be real, those deep fried sugary sticks are all kinds of delicious. Listening to music and jumping around in Bren's bounce house. Yeah, I know I'm 13, but there's just something about a bounce house that makes me feel awesome. I had a full week to chill out with my best friends, Mop and Bren, before they left town, and even though I'd be working at the restaurant a few days a week, it seemed like the summer was off to a good start. Mop and Bren were honorary Zamoras and almost always attended Sunday dinner. They showed up a little late today, popping in from the patio entrance. Bren walked toward me, his arms extended to give me a hug. Hermano! I half hugged him and stared. It must have taken him hours to put his outfit together. That was probably why they were late. What are you wearing, Bren? I asked. I know, Mop said, shaking his head. I tried to tell him. I think he dressed up for Vanessa. Bren had been in love with my cousin, Vanessa, for as long as I could remember. She barely knew he existed. What? Bren said, pulling at the collar of his shirt, which opened into an embarrassingly deep V. Too formal? Dude, you're wearing sunglasses. So? We're inside. It's to keep out the glare, homie. The 305 can get pretty bright. Stop talking like Pitbull. You're not Pitbull, Mop cried and slapped his forehead. Last year, Bren tried to shave his head like Pitbull, but ended up with just one side of his head shaved because his mom caught him before he could finish. It took 6 months for the hair to grow back. At least take off the sunglasses, I said. Abuela doesn't like that. Bren gave a nod, dropped his glasses to the edge of his nose, and channeled Pitbull. Dale. Mop and I shook our heads and waited for Bren to put the glasses into his blazer pocket before going to the lounge area to greet the rest of the family. When we got there, I noticed someone in the front door knocking politely. Through the window double doors, I made eye contact with a tall, reddish-brown-haired, honey-eyed girl waving and smiling with a mouth full of tiny, colorful braces. Oh, they're here, everyone, Vanessa announced as she went to unlock the door. As the official orientation liaison to Sunday family dinner at La Cocina de la Isla, I'd like to welcome the Sanchez family. Carmen, you and I were like 6 when you last came to Miami, right? I think so, said Carmen as she stood at the door and looked around. She said words a little funny, the way I do when I try to speak Spanish. Mom rushed over to Carmen. How was the flight, mi amor? Good, madrina, thanks. My mom turned to Carmen's dad, Uncle Frank, who was not really my uncle, but we called him Uncle because his wife was my mom's best friend. My mom gave Uncle Frank a kiss on each cheek and held both of his hands. You doing okay? Uncle Frank managed a sad sort of smile that reminded me why they were here. There are good days and bad days, Uncle Frank offered. Gotti, I can't thank you enough for letting us stay for the summer. Christina was my best friend, Frank. You're family to me. My mom saw me standing by the lounge and looked annoyed that I hadn't come over to greet them yet. Arturo, saluda a tu familia. The last time I'd seen Carmen, we'd just been kids. My mom and dad had gone to visit them about 6 months ago for Carmen's mom's funeral, but I was in school, so I couldn't go. Arturito, Uncle Frank said. Como ha crecido, Cari? My mom's name is Caridad, but everyone calls her Cari. I turned to him and smiled. Thanks, I guess I have grown a little. You remember Carmen? My mom pushed Carmen in front of me. This was not the lanky, mutant-fast cheetah girl I used to play tag with years ago. Carmen had changed. She was still tall, but those colorful braces made her look way mature. Her hair was really long and wavy. She carried a little book in her hand, thumbing the edges while looking at me shyly. Then, without warning, she grabbed my shoulders and double kissed me, one on each cheek. I felt a burning in my stomach, like a pot of oil was slowly starting to bubble inside. It was weird. Hola, Arturo, she said. For a second, I considered bolting to the kitchen to try to figure out why I was losing it in front of my mom's goddaughter. I'd better calm down because Carmen would be living in our apartment complex for the whole summer and possibly beyond. Plus, she was practically my cousin, and these feelings were totally wrong. I didn't know what to do. And if it weren't for Aunt Tootie, I might have been caught in a vortex of my own confusion and despair. Hi, Frank. I'm so sorry to hear about everything. Aunt Tootie hugged and double kissed Uncle Frank and then turned to hug Carmen and stroke her hair. Ay, she's so beautiful, Frank. De Dios la bendiga. Gracias, Tootie. G.R.I.P, did you tell them? They just got here, Tootie. How could I have told them? Ay, don't get pasada. I'm trying to pay you a compliment. Thank you, Tootie, my mom said as she rolled her eyes. Anyway, we're expanding the restaurant. It's not certain yet, Tootie. The expansion will be approved, G.R.I.P. There's no way the city would reject a good business decision like this. That's great, Uncle Frank said. My mom smiled. The city put out calls for proposals for the empty lot next to us, and Tootie jumped in before my mom could finish. And my sister here had the brilliant idea of putting in a bid to expand La Cocina. Fantastic, Frank replied. Right? This place is barely big enough for our family. Imagine how many more people we could feed in a bigger space. It's the perfect time because our lease is up at the end of the month. My Aunt Tootie paused for a second to take a quick breath before starting up again. She looked like an ostrich the way she moved her really long neck and stuck out her plump round bottom. Oi, Frank, maybe you can help with the construction phase. Uncle Frank had an eco-friendly construction company in Madrid, in Spain, and had built a ton of buildings in Madrid. Tootie, Frank has only been here for 5 minutes. Let's not put him to work already. I'm trying to make him feel welcome, G.R.I.P. He's been through so much. Aunt Tootie took out a napkin and began patting her eyes. Tootie, my mom started, please don't get hysterical. Telling my Aunt Tootie not to get hysterical is like telling her, please, I want you to totally freak out right now. G.R.I.P, this is not the time to be calm. He lost his wife. Aunt Tootie sobbed all the way to the patio where she joined Mari and Yolanda. My mom shook her head in frustration and then turned around to address the rest of the family. Everyone, we're eating in 10 minutes, she said, and then walked Uncle Frank and Carmen to see Abuela before disappearing into the kitchen. Everyone slowly pushed the smaller tables together to make one long table spanning the entire width of the restaurant. A few people grumbled because they knew once the meal was over, we were going to have to start cleaning the restaurant for service the next day. And that is where we'll end today. We'll pick up again tomorrow.